Hello, everyone. Welcome to our Oneness conversation for the month of July already, which is amazing. And our theme for this month is forgiveness for today. So we'll be talking a little bit about that from each of us with some different stories. If you haven't seen me before, maybe you're just joining us for the first time, my name is Kim Lyde. I am a holistic healing coach. I'm a board certified music therapist. And my mission on this planet is to help teach self love and acceptance, which I think goes beautifully with our theme of forgiveness for today. As we were talking, Judith and our other leaders on this call today, before we hit the record button, we were talking about how this topic brought back a memory about an audio that I put out actually at the holiday season. So it was about half a year ago now. And the whole idea was reminding us that it's okay to take a pause and it's okay to take a moment to breathe. At the time, I had been speaking about the hustle and bustle of the holiday season. But here in mid-year, we're in July, and summer, at least in this part of the world, is in mid-swing, and people are still in a kind of hustle and bustle. We're taking vacations. We're figuring out how we're going to take time off from work, or maybe we're not taking time off, or we're working all the way through. And there's a different level of hustle and bustle going on. So I'm reminded, at least on a personal level, from my perspective, I've been reminded lately to take that pause again, to take that time to breathe and just be, as I've been focusing this whole first 6 months of the year on how can I get everything done and how much more can I do? And oh no, we're halfway through already. So how can I get ready for the end of the year? And there's the going mind, right? Go, go, go. And all the while I'd started to feel a little burnt out. And I don't know if any of you can relate to the feeling of burnout. I'm sure many of you listening can. Burnout from your job, or sometimes from your family, or from studies. If you're in school, you might be feeling that level of stress. And when you feel those sensations, that stress and that frustration, and maybe you get a little snappy with people or a little grumpy with people, or you start to have a negative outlook on life, it's good to recognize that, see that for what it is, and remember that you can, in each moment, in each second of every day, you have a choice, that you can make that choice to breathe. You can make that choice to be still, and you can be okay with allowing yourself to have that space. Part of forgiveness, I think, is forgiving yourself for maybe working too hard, forgiving yourself for maybe not taking the time that you would have liked to take for family or friends, or for yourself. Maybe you need a massage, but you feel guilty. You don't want to go take that massage because, oh, I have all this stuff to do. I'm raising my hand, exhibit A right here. So forgiving yourself that it's okay. You're allowed to have a massage. You're allowed to take a break. You're allowed to breathe, because how can you help the people around you and your family and your colleagues at work or whoever? How can you outpour to them if you're not filled up? So it's okay to fill yourself up first. Please fill yourself up first. And at the risk of talking through this whole thing, I'm going to take a step back. So forgive me. Thank you. That's our topic. Forgive me for going on. And I'm going to pass the torch over to Judith, our fearless leader, and she can share some extra nuggets of wisdom for us.
Oh, thank you so much, Kim. I'm chuckling and I haven't turned my speaker off purposely. So I want to have people that are listening know that it's okay to be different. And I'm not going to ask for forgiveness because I intentionally kept it on, because whatever pours from Kim's heart always speaks to my heart. So I just want, on behalf of all of the listeners that will be listening down the road to this tape, at some point in their journey of self-awareness and self-love, is connected to the theme today about forgiveness. It's okay to be who we are in any given day and to be less hard on ourselves. So I love what Kim brings to the language of the heart and the soul, which really speaks to me of our other wonderful, fearless leader, Joey, who's on the line in a new way today. And Joey has had a recent experience, as have all of us on this call today, where we're being given the gift of having to be creative and come through with new ideas because we're living in times that are highly engaging us in the stress of having things happen that may not be expected at the last minute. So Joey's face will not be seen today, but his beautiful phone in Colorado. And I'm speaking from the sacred Algonquin Anishinaabe territory of Aylmer, Gatineau, Quebec, right across from Ottawa, the capital city of this nation. And we're living in these times of being fearless people to know that we can do better and are doing better, both as individuals and collective beings, going with the flow to remember that we're all one red heart, living together on the same beautiful planet that we all share. And in a good way, we're learning to be less hard on ourselves. And when we can do that, we can have those precious timeouts to breathe, to be in nature and to be still and to reflect. We can be very present to ourselves and in a good way, be better present to our families. So as one human family, I see we have one beautiful soul. Welcome to you on the call today. And for those listening in the future, in every present moment, reach out to Kim because I know she has that video cassette available. And if you're interested in what she's talking about, I found it a very powerful tool. When we're driving our cars and we're in a way that we want to be centered in the traffic jams of the modern century, we can be present to ourselves in new ways to know we're not alone. So on that note, I'd like to introduce Joey to us, and Joey's going to bring us into the conversation around the theme embracing forgiveness and self-love and how we can be creative in new ideas of going with the flow. So Joey, it's all up to you now.
Thank you so much. Lovely to be on the call with you again. It's nice to know that this is the seventh one so far. Started in January and done one each month and continued on to the end of the year. It's been lovely. Yeah, in terms of uncertainty, my power here at my house went off, or I guess disconnected about 30 minutes before this call. So it kind of reminded me of our ability to adapt. Now that I was like thinking about it, I feel like my old self before I started doing a lot of this work, would have said things like, "Oh, it's just my luck," or being really anxious and stressed out about things not being perfect and not having internet connection, and now everything was difficult and kind of. I think it would have made it really difficult on myself of a situation that was out of my control. Whereas now with this, it's kind of all I had to do is just try my best to remedy the situation. Called Judith on the phone, tried to see if I could at least have a cell service and talk to her, and see if I could connect my phone to my computer, but that did not end up working. And then it was a team effort, and then Kim said, "Oh, how about you call in on the Zoom number?" And so I called in on the Zoom number, and now it's working this way. So kind of just reminds me of, anytime we hit some type of adversity, to kind of check ourselves and how we talk to ourselves, and how our emotional state is when uncertainty arrives, because I think it gives us a good window into a lot of different programs that are kind of running, when we're in relationships with people. Say we have difficulties with our family, with our friends, our loved ones, that a lot of these programs play out, a lot of these emotional triggers and difficulties, and a lot of, I guess, quote unquote, bad sides of ourselves that we don't really like so much, sometimes come out automatically and don't do much service to us. They actually steal a lot of energy from us. So I actually have learned to embrace situations like this, because I think it gives us a good window into some of those difficulties that we don't normally get an opportunity to look at. And at the core of it, our biology is so based on adaptability. I know many of us have heard like Darwin and so forth, there's survival of the fittest, but I think it's more about survival of the most adaptable. that those who have been able to adapt and evolve and adjust to adversity and uncertainty the best are the ones that are able to evolve the most quickly. So yeah, it's given me a new perspective on life and any difficult situations that come up of like, okay, well, this is the situation. It's out of my control. So how can I be most conscious and clear with how to remedy this and go with the flow and ride that wave of the ocean instead of trying to fight against it. So yeah, lovely to be on the call with you all. It's always interesting when things like this pop up, but we've been able to connect regardless. So thanks so much for having me and being here with you all today.
Well, it's a real joy to have us all meet at least once a month and to reconnect and be in the flow. And I love the word teamwork. And I think that's really what's coming through for me as I look at the world of today and the new world that's emerging. As a 78-year-old elder who's gone through a tremendous amount of grief lately with the loss of my husband, I can see that there's so much grief happening on the planet now. With the loss of anything, any kind of change, there will be grief. And in many of our cultures, we don't be present to people or put language to others to see that what they're experiencing is perfectly normal. And one of the things that I would share with you is my experience in the last few months is I never realized how much energy it takes to grieve deeply from a broken heart. And so what I'm beginning to see is in the changes of what we're seeing happen on the planet, a lot of us are very affected deeply by the trauma we see happening to our own home, the earth. And so this is a very stress-filled time in which to be living through the chaos, which is opportunity for growth. It's opportunity for self, personal, and collective transformation and healing. And we're all at the right time in our own journeys. Now, Joey, you were talking about our reactive patterns, and I can see a lot of that. You know, as a little child would act up. Well, we all have this wounded little child in all of us that sometimes will come out to play. And sometimes we're not taught to give our wounded child a nice big hug, because some days we deserve to have a temper tantrum, but we haven't been given the tools or been mirrored how to handle the stress or the thing that's triggering us in a healthier manner, unless we've been blessed to have parents that had that consciousness. So we're all coming from different intergenerational citizens of the world of different ages now, different cultures, different diverse ways of seeing the world. So we're all going to be seeing the world in different ways. So I think as you were talking about, Kim, to have a time out to simply be still with yourself, get to know yourself, get to know that aspect of yourself that's the beauty that yearns for you to see, and see that you can get better at holding space for you, and then you can hold space for other people to begin to see they're a wonderful person too, because somebody's listening to help them begin to understand the wonder of their child inside themselves that wishes to express their highest self, not just the wounded little child that's hurt all the time. So let's expand on this embrace forgiveness around the aspect of self-love and self-worth, because some of us come from families we didn't get to experience love. So we don't know what that even means if it's not part of our experience. So when we work together as one human family, is it time to be more gentle and kind to each person we meet and see in a context of maybe this person didn't even get a smile today. Perhaps we can get better at being that kind of a person when we're even outside of our own homes, and look at ourselves in the mirror and give ourselves a smile every day and see it's a way of lightening up and going with the flow. So let's build in some of those ideas around our theme of embracing forgiveness.
I absolutely love everything that Judith, you and Joey, you have said. So much like just popped into my mind as the two of you were talking and sharing. And what came up for me as I'm listening and responding to all of this is the idea of forgiveness of external things, forgiving the universe or God or whatever it is that you believe in, forgiving that for the power going out, for things going wrong, for why'd you take my spouse away? What we weren't done having that feeling, and being able and willing to forgive what we cannot control, forgiving the world, forgiving the people around us for having a meltdown, for having a bad day, for maybe being rude to us because they're struggling with some kind of stressful thing and they snapped, and we're like, well, you don't have to take it out on me. Right? We get that attitude, we want to throw it back to them. But taking a step to forgive people for being human, right? And like I said, forgiving source for allowing us to have these journeys and these experiences that help us grow and help us evolve and help us navigate differences, and how to adapt, how to be more adaptable and grow. So all of that kind of came out in my mind as I was listening. I think it's brilliant. I think it's beautiful that we're having this conversation. And Judith, to your point, as we were talking about the self, it does start with the self. It really does start with the self. If you are listening and you are having a hard time forgiving yourself for not being perfect, or maybe not being able to make something work that you wanted to make work, or whatever it is for you, start there. Start with yourself. And I'll repeat the thing that I said on my audio so many months ago. You're exactly where you need to be in this moment, in this second in time, in this breath. If you could take, in fact, let's just do that. Let's all take a deep breath together right now. Breathe in and maybe just yawn. It's really good to yawn. Take another deep breath, like really get into your body for a second. Let's do one more. I think 3 is a great number, so do one more time. There we go. Nice yawn. So in those breaths, you are exactly where you need to be. You're exactly where you need to be. It doesn't matter what has happened up to this moment. It where However you got to this moment, however you got to this call, you're exactly where you need to be. So could you start there? Start there, start with yourself, and let yourself feel that you're allowed to be where you're at. And that's where you start. And then I would say step number 2, after you have taken the time to go within and to do some of that deep inner work, where you can forgive yourself in any experiences that you feel you have made a mistake, or you have the blame and the shame and the guilt game going on. When you can clear that first, then look outside of you and see that the people around you are human, and we're all on a different journey. We're all learning something new, and part of that journey and process is sometimes figuring out how to navigate the emotions that we have with each other, and figuring out, wow, well, what's this weird thing happening? Why is this storm coming into my life? What is this for? We like to analyze it. We like to figure out why is this happening? But go with the flow. Could you breathe? Like it this would apply to, women might understand this, maybe not so much the men, but like a contraction in labor, right? Can you breathe through it? Can you ride the wave rather than restricting it? And no, don't, no, like rather than pushing it away, that's going to make birth a lot more painful. But if you can ride the wave and realize that there is a purpose, there's a purpose to this pain. There's a purpose because we're creating something new. We're creating a new life, a new experience, a new journey, a new thing, a new beautiful soul. Well, the soul was, coming through the body, but we don't create the soul. But I hope you see my point in there's a purpose in each part of our journey. The pleasant the unpleasant, all of it. So I'll just say one more time, you are exactly where you need to be, and breathe through it. Judith, back to you. Back to you.
I love the breathing through it, because many times when we're living in such a hectic outside world, we are not breathing. And that's the reality. And I think we do just get disconnected to our feelings. And we are like little children. We can easily get wounded. And a person can say something to another person and not even know they've hurt us. And we've been deeply wounded because something in our childhood made us more vulnerable than another person. And that person won't even know they've hurt us. But to your point, Kim, around feeling the capacity to have the pain and honor the pain and breathe into the pain and honor that when you begin to love yourself enough to take that breath, to step back and honor that that person has many times projected their own pain at you, but they didn't know they were doing it and you didn't know it, because we don't talk a lot about that in our culture. And so what we're beginning to understand is, as I get better at having the time out to simply be present with me, it is about the pain becoming the compassion I need for myself. And if I can be more compassionate with myself and less hard on myself, I can reflect that shift in my own perspective around everybody that's close to me, who I may be hurting unintentionally because we're both in grief or loss or some kind of thing that's triggering our incapacity to respond rather than react. So when we're on a journey forward, every event and experience we've had in our life is why we're here as such beautiful human beings experiencing life on this planet at this dimension of reality. And being human is hard work. So I think everyone listening on this call in the present moment or the future should give themselves a big hug, not just the wounded child, but their whole person, the wholeness of who they are as very courageous beings living on a planet right now going through great change, that are here to be part of the evolutionary process of prophecy. And so we're here for a reason. And every day is an opportunity for learning and growth and events and experiences to mirror that we're getting better every day at being fully human and honoring that we're spiritual beings as well as human two-legged beings, where nature is much more evolved than us. And some people will laugh when I say that, but if you go in nature, they go with the flow. They get everything done. They're not rushing, but everything gets done. Just watch the birds and watch all the different relations that we have. As the First Nations talk about all our relations, well, they're our greatest teachers sometimes. Our challenge as human beings is when we think we know it all, we're the problem. So on that note, I'd like to pass it on to Joy and continue this wonderful conversation of listening to each other.
Yeah, as always, loving the conversation. Y'all are so wise. I appreciate this. What was coming up for me, hearing you both talk, was that piece around like self-love and forgiveness is, I believe, kind of the foundation that allows us to be more accepting of life's circumstances, to be able to surrender more readily to, any difficulties that happen in our lives, as well as be more willing to feel and surrender to good things that happen in our lives as well. Because I feel like if we don't have that self-love and that forgiveness to ourselves and to others, that we more easily kind of get locked into not being agreeable with our life circumstances, whether good or bad. We either dismiss the good or try and stay away from the bad. And for me, life is about feeling. It's really our own personal perspectives and judgments as to what we personally believe is good or bad. And when we label things as good or bad, it almost sets this tone inside of our body of yeses or nos. And if we have a no to life, and things don't feel good, and we always try and stay away from it, then I think we kind of miss out on a lot of aspects of life. And I, I truly believe that our body holds a memory, like within the tissue, within the cells, of these difficulties we've had throughout our life, from our youngest years up to the age we are now, and it'll continue. And I think it kind of keeps that memory almost like this baggage that we carry around, and we literally get like heavier from this energy of these unresolved emotions and these difficulties that we're holding on to from relationships in our lives that we haven't been able to accept and actually resolve and forgive, and have that sense of love for ourselves and love for others, just for where those people happen to be during that time frame. And I think it goes back to what Kim was saying of like, start where you are. Wherever you are is perfect, and be there. You are perfect as you are. And I think it's difficult to put language to, because in one sense, like in this environment that we're in with self-development and increasing consciousness, and that kind of oneness piece with ourselves and with our community, is that on one side it's like you are perfect where you are, and there's no need to change, because you are where you need to be. And then holding that at the same time with, there's always areas to increase your consciousness, there's always areas to improve oneself, and find more joy in your life, and learn to resolve and heal things that you are carrying on with you that you may not realize you have. And so somehow, like, those two seem opposite, but they also are interconnected. And so I haven't really found a good way to like explain holding those two at the same time. But I believe it's possible to, because like I was saying about it being in the cells and the tissues, like I've had experiences doing massage work with people, and literally just working on their muscles and releasing different types of physical tensions and pains and stresses, and emotions would arise out of nowhere with that, and all of a sudden the person would be bawling and crying on the table, which I expect they never wanted to do in the first place. And many of them probably have tried to control it, and there was a point where it couldn't be controlled. The body needed to express that emotion. And so I've had many experiences that way in the massage realm, where our body literally holds on to these emotions of these pieces of difficulties from our past. And so I think it really showed me how important it is to allow ourselves to surrender and accept these things as they arise, because then we don't hold on to them anymore. And because it seems as if there's almost like this emotional battery that we all have. And kind of like Kim was talking about filling ourselves up. Like when we do things for ourselves and we have the self-love and the self-acceptance and this ability to forgive when it's needed, that we almost allow ourselves to charge that battery. But if we deny our ability to do these things, then we kind of just bog ourselves down with all of this unneeded emotional baggage that steals our energetic resources, and then we kind of lose that for ourselves. And so I think that's kind of part of the blessing and the curse of being human, that we, unlike at least what we believe with other animals and primates, that we can use our mind to be in the past. It's a time machine, right? We can be in the past, we can be in the future. It's an amazing thing, gives us lots of progress and ability. And at the same time, it's to our detriment, that instead of being in the present moment, fully surrendering and riding that wave of whatever that difficulty and uncertainty is, pleasurable or not, that we instead choose to fly into the future and fly into the past and do whatever we can to stay out of this present moment, because it might be somewhat uncomfortable. But reminding again that it's really our judgments as to what's good, what's bad, what's a yes, what's a no, what's comfortable, what's pleasurable, what's not comfortable, and so forth. So yeah, I think starting to look at those things and seeing what can we do to allow ourselves to be in the present moment more often, especially in the difficult places, let alone the ones that are not difficult and feel good, to surrender to whatever we are feeling in those moments and allowing it to be what it is. One of my Taoist teachers would say, "It just is," and I thought it was a very simple statement to say, life is whatever it is in that moment, and be with it. Do what you can to be with it and love yourself and love others. Yeah, so that's what you all brought up with me. It's really good to have this conversation. Appreciate y'all.
Especially for these times, it's very good to have these conversations because one of the things that I'm seeing with the pain, when we talk about carrying so much baggage, can you imagine how much energy it takes to keep holding on to the pain? And why people have so many physical challenges is they're carrying so much repressed energy in their muscles, and it prevents the flow of the blood, and all the organs don't get the nutrients that they need or the nutrition that they need because there's no flow. And energy has to flow. It's like water. If you block a dam, which is what we do on planet Mother Earth, we have dams all over the earth, and the water's not flowing. Well, no wonder the earth is getting sick. It's the same as a human being. If we kept blocking all of our arteries with dams and internalized pain, why do we see so many people having heart attacks or mental emotional burnouts, as we call them? Well, the reason is we don't put a lot of language to the human experience. And the human experience of the events and the experiences that trigger us are the opportunities to be still and honor, as you say, Joey, to breathe and feel what is your body able to do in its natural way of you breathing and releasing that tension and not having the pain have power over your compassion, to be present to the pain as a signal. It's a moment for healing. And nice to see your beautiful face, Joey. Welcome.
Power's back on. Yeah, so normally my old self would have been like anxious and freaking out the entire time until the power turned back on. And it's like so that would have wasted my energy for the last hour of something I can't control. And it kind of reminds me of like driving in traffic. I used to be in Southern California with LA traffic, and it could take me 3 hours to get somewhere. It could take 5 hours. It could take 1 hour. And that entire time trying to get somewhere, it's out of my control. So might as well sit back, be with it, and enjoy it because it just it. Instead of spending that entire time where my programming would have let me be was anxious and out of control and unhappy and angry and that emotional battery the entire time without even realizing it. And so now it's kind of giving me a perspective of like being with it. What are you going to do? And now it's back on. So cool.
There you go. So Kim, back to you.
Yeah, Joey, I love what you were saying about the like feeling it in your body and the muscles and then your cells. And it reminded me actually, because I don't remember how much I've shared about my own childhood, which was not pleasant. And when you said that, I remembered the physical feeling of like constriction, like physically feeling the feeling of like I'm always afraid. I'm always feeling like contracted with my like wanting to hold myself in and not be like open and expansive. And that physical feeling became a habit that I carried with me through my adult life because that's how I learned to be in the world. Was physically feeling, always feeling like tight and like I have to hide, I have to be small, I have like I'm trying to demonstrate visually like how it felt. And it's taken a lot of learning and growth and expansion to be expanded, to be like, I feel like I can be open now. I feel like it's okay to be seen. It's okay to cry. Um, it was reminding me of another experience I just had actually yesterday, where I was sharing with Judith maybe I don't remember anymore, but I was sharing recently that I was feeling burnt out lately, with just everything going on and like pets dying and people getting sick, and I shared that over the past few calls with you guys. And being a business owner too, anyone in the business world knows that it's hard to be a business owner. Lots of times your family doesn't necessarily back you up, your friends don't necessarily back you up. It sometimes you feel like a loner because you're trying to do this thing that is not it's not a steady job. It's not, something that a lot of people out there feel is safe and normal. So when you're feeling the stress and you're feeling the burnout and you feel alone and isolated because, well, I can't talk to my family, they don't get it, they're just going to tell me to quit, right? Or I can't talk to these people because they don't get it. So yesterday I reached out to a stranger, a coach, who I just felt energetically like she would be a safe person to reach out to, and she held a beautiful space for me. We talked for over an hour, even though she only had me on her calendar for a half hour. But she gave me this beautiful space. I was bawling, I was a mess, I was crying, but I felt so much lighter at the end of the call. I felt like a weight had been lifted because finally I had taken the time to speak to someone who I knew would hear me, and that's important. I think taking the time, like, if you don't have a friend, like, call one of us. Judith and Joey and I are more than happy to take a moment and hold space for you if you're listening to this call. Like, we're happy to do that for you because we do it. We recognize that we need that space too. So if you don't have someone, call one of us, or call, someone that you feel can safely hold that space for you. If you just need to get out there and cry, you do it so that you can release that physical, because that's a physical energy too, the tears that you're trying to hold in. There's that physical feeling again of, I gotta hold it, I gotta be tight, I can't, I gotta be restrictive, don't cry, hold them in, and then you get a headache, and then you get stressed and tense, and but again, let's breathe. Right, when you can let those tears flow and let the muscles relax and do what they need to do, oh my gosh, like, it was like having a massage. I didn't have a massage yesterday, but the physical feeling of feeling like I can move now, I can have space, I can be, and it filled me up because I felt heard and seen and understood, and like, it's okay, it'll be okay, and now I can move on. So I just thought that would be really powerful to share with you guys. If you're in that space, phone a friend. Phone a friend. It's so powerful. So powerful.
So much, Kim, because that's part of the image of the dam. When we have so much internalized pain that we can't express it with a safe space, with a friend that can truly be present fully, to just not judge, not talk, but let us express what's deepest within our core that is yearning for us to release. And many, many times when I've seen as a spiritual director, when people are ready, they come to me because they're simply looking for a person that's not going to say anything, but listen from the depth of who I am, because I've already done a certain amount of that work myself to be able to be a space holder in that way. And so when I'm looking at the journey of healing, one of the most important things I'm seeing is you can say something to a complete stranger that you may not be able to say to another human being in your own repertoire of so-called relationships. And sometimes family can't be present to us and we can't be present to them in grief. We all grieve uniquely, but we can be in better ways present to ourselves if we are blessed to have good friends on the journey, or complete strangers that can go for a walk and just talk, and then all of a sudden in talking and being authentic to your experience, you can go home and the dam will open in a really good way. And so it's like freeing the waterways of Mother Earth right now. When we keep opening the dams all over the planet will get very, very healthy. So will human beings. As we get better at being more authentic and real with each other, we'll find our own tribe. There are many people on the same path as ourselves. Some of us that have been lonely wolves for a long time, but now we're meeting. And when the students are ready, the teachers appear, and you'll know the teacher immediately when you see them. Whether you hear their voice or you see them, you know it's fine to be who you really are, and they won't feel any degree of discomfort because they'll know, my goodness, this person's real. So when you meet a real person and you're real with them, the universe applauds, and all our ancestors on the other side are cheering us on because they're telling us we're the ancestors now. We're the new humanity emerging, all ages, all cultures. It doesn't matter where we're from. And that's why internet and science and technology are such powerful tools to hear the wisdom of the elders of all cultures, all ages, because we all come from unique life expense and experiences. It doesn't go by age, how much wisdom you have. It goes by what you've learned with your own life experience and how to have compassion and love for yourself, because we're here to be the love we all yearn to see. And so, Joey, everything you always say is so magical to me. In the mystery of life, you and Kim make the dimension of reality more real for me every day. And I hope it does the same for the listeners. So I'm wondering about the time frame. In life, there's no such thing as time and space unless you keep looking at the clock. So how are we doing so far?
It's about, I have 333 over here on the East Coast, which is amazing. Right? Three threes. So, I'm feeling flexible. We could do another 7 minutes. We could do another 17 minutes. I don't know.
I like the word flexible. How about you, Joey?
Yeah, I'm good. I can do another 15 or so. Yeah, I wanted to respond to that. Judith loved the analogy with a dam and water. I feel like it really is a great analogy for emotions. And Kim, I really appreciate you bringing that up and being courageous to talk about that, because that's really what gets to the core of this. That all of us have that type of sense, and I never really thought about this before, but it's like when we have this emotion that's locked inside of us, we have a dam closing off this immense potential energy of water that can create and produce and generate more energy when we allow flow. And so, like, it's time to celebrate for you to like take that level, to have that courageousness, to be like, oh, I'm sensing that there's an emotion that's arising. Something in my environment has allowed this to come up now and surface. And instead of stopping yourself, you chose to call a friend, or call this coach and do something about it. And I think that's what we're all learning to do. It's like we know through a physical sensation, we know when we need to urinate, we know when we're hungry, right? We know these base primal things of our body speaking to us with this signal, and we go, oh, I'm hungry. Oh, I need to go to the bathroom. Like, we know these things. But for some reason, we haven't been as good at understanding when emotions are coming up as another signal and allowing it to happen, because we have all of these social cues around us and all these control mechanisms, and emotions are another level of illogical uncertainty, and we don't like to be in that place for some reason. But yet at the same time, we know that if we allow ourselves to go there and allow that emotion to be fully expressed when it is in the proper place in a safe environment, that exactly what you said, you felt like this weight lifted off of you. And so we have this language to try and express relief, but that there was some type of tension that allowed for that release, or that relief when the release happened. So it's like we understand that we know we'll feel better afterwards, but for some reason, sometimes it's so difficult to allow ourselves to do the work to get to that place. And that's why I love this conversation, because it gives that ability to be like, oh, okay, next time I feel something come up, what can I do to pause my life to allow myself to experience whatever's coming up? Because I know I will feel better afterwards. I know that I'm going to feel lighter. There's going to be some sense of release. There's a weight lifted off the shoulder. And at that point, you literally become a new person. And so, like, the way the emotions are constructed inside of us is that we have these earlier parts of our lives where those physical sensations occurred. We had this moment of high stress and we weren't able to do anything with it. We kind of locked it in and put it away. And then it became this response mechanism now in our present moment life. And so, what I absolutely love, one of the analogies, is almost like this beautiful garden of trauma. We have this garden of trauma from our youngest years of life where we had no ability, who our caregivers were. We had no choices around this. It just was what it was. And if it's still with us, then we're going to experience that today in the present moment again and again and again until we allow ourselves to accept it and surrender to it. And then our body will naturally allow that emotion to resolve itself. And that is the self-healing process. But it requires exactly what Kim is talking about, to be courageous, to be brave, and to notice that that tension was there, and then to do something about it, which she decided to actually work with it. And that is the healing process. And so I really want to bring more people onto this, because our culture kind of shines us away from this, unfortunately, and doesn't always teach people to properly be with another person when these difficulties are happening. And I really, truly believe it is our natural birthright to know how to be with somebody during these times, how to allow them to how to allow them to be in that feeling, sensation of an emotion, and allow it to fully come to its resolution process. In the same way that I feel with massage. Like, you don't have to go to a massage school to learn massage. Like, your hands have been built for millions of years to understand how to touch another person in a way that feels good and can allow them to release these tensions. In the same way that you can self massage as well and get that feedback. Like, we know this naturally. But I think we've kind of forgotten it. And so just know that this is built within you and your biology to know how to self heal and to help others do the same thing. Yeah, so I absolutely love that. That was really good stuff. I don't know how long that was and where we are on time now, but feel free if there's anything else.
To me, it's a labor of birth. When I look at midwifery as a spiritual direction, it's a presence of holding space for both of the people present to each other in a way by which we're bringing forth the authentic, real, genuine spiritual self, without the person needing to die physically, but stay on the planet and live authentically and real and spiritual to who they really are. So when you hear a person emoting and speaking emotionally, completely real to the authentic self, such as heart-to-heart conversations that I see happening in these oneness conversations, what we're beginning to see is we're bringing forth the beauty of who we really are to be made real in the physical presence of others. And that is the greatest aspiration of the creator and the universe and the God of our limited understanding that has many names. And the message of the Christ: love one another, love your neighbor, love yourself as your neighbor, forgive each other. Even when he was being crucified, he said something very powerful. He said, forgive them, for they know not what they do. So many of us are living in a Western world where we're so conditioned to be living from the mental, and we forget this wonderful medicine wheel of the ancient cultures, of the ancestors of all cultures, who are nomadic peoples, very connected to community, to tribe, to nature, and to the reality of something they could not understand at the mental level. But they knew that in singing and drumming and dancing and sharing sacred fires, doing sacred ceremony, there was something real that created that community to be one that was oneness, where the grandmothers and the clan mothers held space for the emotional, physical, mental, spiritual well-being of that community. And I think that's what we're beginning to see with these times of great awakening. For even Canada, when we look at this nation, we're going through this huge awakening to the real history and story of genocide. that can continue every day throughout the planet. But we're having the Pope come to Quebec this coming week to Canada, and we're talking about embracing forgiveness today. The Pope of the Catholic Church, Pope Francis, is talking about forgiveness, asking for forgiveness, because a lot of times in the journey of humanity, we do things we don't know are very harmful. And many times we will be doing things that will be hurting each other individually or collectively. So we're seeing planetary healing happening as we uncover the chapters to our own story, to be less judgmental, to let go of the past. We can't change that. But in every new day, each of us as individuals can be able to feel our pain, reach out to another person who we know that you can trust to be present in a healing, non-judgmental way, and embrace that hope that we can bring forth that breath of fresh healing to open the dams of that internalized energy that we all carry. And we can get better as human beings, get better at letting go of judgment and forgiveness aspects of being human in ways that are not fully human. But it's time to remember who we really are as spiritual beings, here to be present to each other in ways that embrace the oneness. Get in that same one boat, the Dalai Lama said, and begin to learn to row together as one universal human family. And these are the times we can actually embrace that as a real reality for each of us every day, to know that in every new day, yesterday's past. We can't change yesterday, but in each new day, we can create what's going to come down tomorrow in a way by which we can be more balanced and whole and real with each other. And so this is a wonderful story for us as individuals and for a collective species and for all countries and nations to see. We may not be perfect, but as long as we do our best, that's good enough. And every day as we do our best to be less judgmental and less hard on ourselves, we'll be less hard on others around us. So it's a journey, and inch by inch, it's a cinch. Yard by yard, we're going to make it very hard. So let's just take it and have more fun when we have times that something comes up. Get up and move and dance and sing if you can, or just sit and be still with your own body and allow that deep core pain to be released, because it's ready from the deep depth of who we are to no longer be present to us to hold pain, but have that pain become more compassion for ourselves. So that is my hope in this call. Can you guys feel that?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And I'll just share one last thing, as I know we're kind of coming to the end of our time. I know that here in America, anyway, there is often a stigma attached to speaking with others and releasing emotions and basically having self-care and doing what we need to do in order to be happy and healthy and feel released and whole. And hearing you, Judith, talk about the tribes and our ancestors taking that space very naturally, just because that's what they did. Here in America, we're all like, let's go to work and let's not show emotion and let's just be perfect all the time. And no, I'm not sad, I'm not stressed, I'm fine, and doing all of that. I would love everyone on this call who's hearing this to remember how natural it is to be human. And so often in our culture we hear, oh well, I need a therapist because I'm messed up, or I need to talk to someone because there's something wrong. We make it wrong that we want support, but we're not taking the time like the tribes did to have that space with each other and to hold that space and to be with one another and to release and to dance and to sing and do whatever it is that we feel called to do to be happy and healthy. So is it any wonder that then we find ourselves in need of a therapist or someone, because we're not taking the time? So don't ever think that you're wrong if you feel like you need to talk to someone, or if you're feeling stressed. You're not wrong, you're human. And it's totally natural to and healthy to take that time. So I just wanted to share that last thing, because again, it's so important. So important. We could all use a little self-forgiveness. Let's take it on.
I love it. I think it helps to change the model. And like as you both were speaking, I was kind of thinking, like, where did drumming begin? Where did singing begin? Where did dancing begin? I think it was a direct connection with body and with earth, with spirit, like because it felt good, right? Like I don't think someone thought like, oh, I want to do this and I need to do this and because it's good for me or all these other things. There was no cognitive process around it. It was a movement from within that it felt good to experience sound. It felt good to create sound. It felt good to move. And I feel that's the same thing that's happening with emotions, except exactly like Kim's saying, we're in a culture where it's all cognitive, it's all thinking, it's all doing, it's a lot of controlling and expectations of what should be and why is it not what I want it to be. And all of that stuff stops the natural process of feeling and experiencing. And I think that's sometimes what people get confused when I speak about resolving emotions. It's like when you look for these emotional triggers and you're able to tap in your body's natural ability to resolve that imprint. I think people often think like, oh, well, but the emotion, like I can't have it anymore, or like I'm not going to be emotional anymore, or there's some type of belief around it that we're going to lose it. And it's actually the opposite, that as we become more connected to the present moment of these emotions, we actually become more able to feel our world and to sense our world more deeply. Because instead of all of this forward and back in time about when we're experiencing something, we're actually in it. And it comes through us and it moves and it's done. And then we move on to the next thing. And each time we do that, we literally become a new person. We, in the present moment, experience what life is bringing to us, and it comes through, it moves out, and we literally change who we are the next time because that imprint is going to be different. And so absolutely love this conversation as always. It's been so lovely to be on this journey with you all, and I'm excited for next month as well. It's so lovely to have these recorded for people in the future. We will take the link of the recording that Kim had that Judith brought up in the beginning, and we'll put it on the OWL website. Judith, I always forget how to spell it properly, so if you can give us the name of that at the end. But again, it's been lovely to be here with you all. Can't wait for the next one in the future next month. It'll be the third Monday of August.
Yeah,
and
15.
August 15th. And what was the title again?
Open to the Divine, which is a wonderful bridge from our conversation of today.
Perfect.
Mystics used to say, as within, so without, as above, so below. And when we're speaking authentically and we're coming from depth, that energy that you're speaking about, Joey, people in our culture, we're so conditioned to think it's not normal to have someone speak emotionally, that they'll make a comment, oh, they're so emotional. When you care deeply about something and you're being real to what it is you're articulating, you can touch the heart of another being because you're coming from your soul. And somebody, a young person, said to me many years ago, every time you speak in this circle, I can feel your soul. So when we can hear from the soul level and feel at the soul level, we here are on this wonderful earth in these wonderful programs via internet to help make each other bigger and better at being authentic to who we really are. And we're wonderful human beings with so much goodness in all of our hearts. And it's time to open the dams in good ways to let it flow, because we're part of the transformation, inner and outer. And the website is www, capital OUTAOUAIS, Rootaway, capital W, wellness.com. Excuse me, wellnesslearning.com. Rootaway wellnesslearning.com. So take it from an elder. It's a lifelong journey that continues for me to meet beautiful souls like Kim and Joey. And thanks to internet and thanks to doing spiritual programs and meeting wonderful souls all over the planet, you'll see many conversations on this particular website over the years. And I hope that they speak to each of your hearts who feel called to do a check-in, to reach out to people that may speak a language that will feed your soul the needed the things that it needs every day to have the richness of life return to the darkness, to make sure you know that in every dark day, there's light coming through. And in every day, there's always the aspect of hope. Never give up hope, because forgiveness is the hope for humanity right now. And humanity are the ones we're waiting for to be the change makers. So we're all called, everyone. We've got some self-love and self-work to do. So thank you all for joining the call. And Kim and Joey, any closing words before Joey's going to close words, Kim?
I feel totally complete in in being, I feel like I've shared all that's come up for me. And it's just been so beautiful to hear all, like, just stuff kept coming and pouring out the more I heard you guys speak. So thank you so much for your time and being willing and open to share. And thank you to the listeners who are listening live now and who will listen in the future, because we appreciate you and this is for you. So reach out should you need us. We're happy to be here as a resource for you.
Yes, and as was said before, start where you are. Exactly where you are is perfect. And reach out to anybody that you know that can help you along your journey, in that journey to becoming best friends with yourself, because we always are here with ourselves and we can be with ourselves more often. And oftentimes it helps when people around us are also under the same mentality and heart space of willing to be with one another and guide each other on that journey, be friends and holding hands and playing along the way. So I look forward to seeing you all next month on August 15th. Feel free to check out our YouTube channel as well, and you can see some of the previous recordings, and then join us live next time. Thank you so much for having us. Good to see you next time.
Thank you, everybody. Blessings.
Bye. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.